On February 9, 2004, a 21-year-old college student disappeared in rural New Hampshire. Her name was Maura Murray. There were no confirmed sightings after that night, no physical evidence leading to a definitive conclusion, and no clear explanation for what happened in the minutes that followed her last known contact. What makes this case unusual is not only the disappearance itself, but the narrow time frame in which it occurred. A person vanished in a short window, leaving behind questions that remain unresolved more than 2 decades later. Maura Murray was a nursing student at the University of Massachusetts Amherst. She balanced academic demands with athletics and campus responsibilities. Those close to her described her as structured and goal-oriented. She had expectations placed on her, both personally and academically. In missing person cases, long-term planning often provides clues. In Maura's case, there was no clear indication that she was preparing to abandon her life permanently. In the months leading up to February 2004, Maura faced increasing pressure. Academic performance, personal responsibility, and expectations began to intersect. Pressure alone does not cause disappearance, but it can influence decision-making, particularly when combined with sudden events. Investigators would later revisit this period not as a cause, but as a possible contributing context. Shortly before her disappearance, Maura was involved in a minor car accident. The incident was documented and did not involve criminal charges. On its own, the accident was unremarkable. However, it marked the beginning of a sequence of disruptions in her routine. In isolation, this event explains nothing. In sequence, it becomes part of a broader timeline. After the accident, Maura experienced emotional distress while at work. The incident was observed and recorded by others. Again, emotional distress is not unusual, but it adds another layer to the context surrounding her actions. These moments do not explain what happened. They help explain the environment in which decisions were made. On February 9th, Maura sent emails to several professors. She stated that a death in her family required her to leave campus for approximately 1 week. Later, her family confirmed that no such death had occurred. This detail is significant because it suggests intent to leave campus quickly without providing the true reason. Whether the explanation was meant to avoid questions or conceal something more serious remains unknown. That same day, Maura withdrew cash from an ATM. She packed personal belongings into her vehicle. She searched for directions to locations in northern New England. No confirmed destination was ever established. These actions suggest movement, not disappearance. They indicate travel, not escape. By the afternoon, Maura had left the university area. She began driving north. At that moment, nothing appeared alarming. She was an adult, traveling voluntarily with no reports of danger. Only later would this drive become the final confirmed movement in her timeline. As evening approached, weather conditions deteriorated. Snow covered rural roads in northern New Hampshire. Visibility was limited. Lighting was sparse. These environmental factors would later complicate reconstruction efforts. At approximately 7:30 p.m., Maura's vehicle crashed into a snowbank along Route 112 in Haverhill, New Hampshire. The damage was visible but not catastrophic. The vehicle was disabled, not destroyed. This location represents the last confirmed point in her timeline. Local residents noticed the crash shortly after it occurred. Some spoke briefly with Maura near the vehicle. She declined assistance and stated that help was already on the way. These interactions were brief. They lasted only minutes. Yet they would become some of the last verified human contact she had. When police arrived at the scene, Maura was no longer present. The absence was immediate. There was no prolonged delay. This moment marks the transition from accident to disappearance. The timeline narrows to a short window of time, minutes, not hours. During this period, Maura vanished from the area. No confirmed footprints leading away from the crash site were identified. Search dogs failed to establish a definitive trail. This window remains the most analyzed segment of the case. Authorities initiated ground searches of the surrounding area. Canine units and aerial surveys were deployed. The terrain was difficult. Snow obscured potential evidence. Despite these efforts, no conclusive findings emerged. As days passed, the investigation expanded beyond the immediate crash site. Roads, towns, and potential routes were examined. Tips were received and evaluated. None produced verifiable conclusions. Over time, several theories developed. Some believe Maura left voluntarily. Others suggest she encountered foul play shortly after the crash. There are also theories involving environmental exposure or opportunistic intervention. Each theory attempts to explain the same gap. None resolve it completely. In criminal investigations, theories without evidence cannot close a case. In Maura Murray's disappearance, evidence is scarce. Witness timelines conflict. Physical clues are minimal. This lack of proof prevents definitive conclusions. The case attracted national attention. Media coverage increased public awareness. With attention came speculation. And with speculation came conflicting narratives. Separating verified fact from assumption became increasingly difficult. Despite years of investigation, the case remains officially unsolved. No suspect has been charged. No confirmed explanation has been established. The official record remains open. More than 20 years later, Maura Murray is still missing. No body has been recovered. No confirmed sightings have occurred since the crash. The disappearance is defined not by what is known, but by what remains unexplained. Until new evidence emerges, the events of February 9, 2004 remain unresolved.